Hello guys and welcome back to my channel and time for another weekly what I watched. So let's not do the faffing and let's get straight into it. Okay, so last week we left off at Jugface on the 18th of April. On the 20th we have two movies. Okay, this first movie, oh Jesus, I'm a bit close up to you. Right, hang on. We don't want to be that close. God love you having to look at my face. So on the 20th, I finally saw Nobody. I have been waiting for just so long to see this movie. I'm a big fan of Bob Odenkirk. I love, I was going to say Los Pollos Hermanos. That's because I've been watching Big Polly's t-shirt tag, Breaking Bad, and obviously Better Call Saul, which I never thought would be anywhere as near as good as Breaking Bad, but just completely blew me out of the water. I absolutely love it. So, Nobody. This movie, if you haven't heard about it or what it's about, you've been hiding under a rock. This is a more aggressive version of Falling Down with Michael Douglas. It's the only way I can put it. This guy is a certain age, he's fed up taking shit. I don't know why I lower my voice when I swear because I've still sworn. It just shows the same day repeating itself. Life's dull, life's boring. He sort of like takes the crap from people and one day he just snaps. And that is what this movie is about. And then we go on to find out a little bit more about his character. Don't want to tell you anything more than that, but this is funny. It is very violent. The violence is very funny. That might sound quite weird. Some of the fight scenes are so clever, and it's like an adult Home Alone, the way they set some stuff up in this. And some of the ways he beats people up just made me laugh out loud, but it doesn't skimp on the sort of gore. What? Gore's not the right word, but it doesn't skimp on being hard violence, but in a funny way. It's hard to put this across. I love this. I absolutely love this movie. I give it a 4 out of 5. I reserve my 5 out of 5s for perfection or for things that just really move me. This just made me really laugh. I really enjoyed it. I love the character. I love the story arc. Watch it if you haven't heard of it. Nobody. Awesome. Same evening, I thought I would love this. I watched Operation Finale on Netflix with Ben Kingsley. This is a true story. It's been embellished slightly in places, like a lot of true stories tend to be these days, but the crux of the story is true. This is about Nazi hunters. This guy, played by Ben Kingsley, has evaded capture for all these years. He's obviously moved, he's changed his name, he's got a new identity with a family. And there are a set of people that are absolutely determined to find these people and bring them to justice. And when I say justice, I mean court trial. I don't mean like vigilantes or stuff like that. So 1960, a team of Israeli secret agents is deployed to find Adolf Eichmann, who's a real person, the infamous Nazi architect of the Holocaust, supposedly hidden in Argentina, and get him to Israel to be judged. Now, this movie started out fantastically. I was really invested. I liked the characters. I liked where it was going. I'm not sure whether it was that I picked up my phone and was scrolling through Facebook, or I just lost interest because it started to drag, but this was nowhere near as good as I thought it was going to be. I love movies about this subject matter because I deeply care about this subject matter. I don't have a personal tie to it or anything like that, but it aggravates is the wrong word. It infuriates me to just such an extent, the whole situation. I went off on one last week when I was talking about just racism, and I had to cut it out because I made the video like 10 minutes longer than it was, so I stuck it in my weekly vlog instead. So the acting in this is really good. As I say, it's a true story. I don't know whether to blame the low score I gave it, which was 2.5 out of 5, down to the fact that I became distracted and really should have been giving it my full attention, or did I become distracted because it was boring me to tears? Not entirely sure. So if you've seen Operation Finale and you thought it was excellent, let me know in the comments and I'll give it another go, because it may have been my fault. I just wanted to make you aware. If you do want to watch a fantastic movie about a similar, not about hunting down Nazis, but about the whole German concentration camp Nazis thing, check out The Photographer of Mauthausen, also a true story about a photographer that found himself within the camp and set out to photograph the atrocities to prove to the outside world what was actually going on. He was in there as an actual, one of the people in the camp, so yeah, really good movie. So Stowaway. This is a movie about a 3-person crew going to Mars to carry out a task. It's a lot to do with scientific research. We have Anna Kendrick, who plays a doctor that's on board. We have Toni Collette, who plays an astronaut, very experienced astronaut who is on her last mission and then it's retirement. We have Daniel Day Kim, who plays a scientist who is on the mission to sort of carry out scientific research when he's on Mars. And we have our stowaway, Shamir Anderson, I think. I need to look it up, sorry. Shamir Anderson, who is on the ship. I won't tell you why, how, what happens, but he's on the ship. So they have the correct resources to last for the 2 years that it's going to take to carry out the mission. When they discover his character, I should look up his name, shouldn't I? Michael Adams. So when they discover Michael on board, they also discover a bit of damage to the ship, which does deplete one of the resources that they need. Now they've got 4 people for the resources to cover. They've got dwindling resources, and they know that they are not going to make it there and back with the 4 people on board. If they try to keep the 4 people on board, they're all going to die. And obviously some very difficult decisions to make. We've got one person on the ship very much wanting to be ruthless and protect themselves. We have another person on the ship very much wanting to exhaust all potential solutions that even the ground crew at this stage are not able to solve. So yeah, I enjoyed it. The acting was very good. Toni Collette is really underly utilised in this. She's almost like a background character in this. Very much Anna Kendrick, I think, takes centre stage in this movie, and she is very good. I will say there are sections which do drag a bit. It can be slow. There's one specific scene where they're doing something with regards to the mission, and I fast forwarded. I think they were on it for about 15 minutes, and it's just a task that's... You don't need to be watching 15 minutes, so I fast forwarded and watched them do it faster. So that's the only warning I'll give you about that. That one's a little bit slow, but I gave it a 3 out of 5. I did. If you see 3 out of 5, it means I enjoyed the movie. Anything above that, I enjoyed it a bit more than usual. So on the 23rd, this is a series. It's a 3-part series. I watched this in one evening. I'm really annoyed by this. This is called Sasquatch. I'm going to completely spoil this for you. It's not about a Sasquatch. Some monsters are real. Investigative journalist Dave Holthouse attempts to solve a bizarre 25-year-old triple homicide that is said to be the work of a mythical creature. I'm obsessed with anything supernatural, unexplained, yetis, aliens, ghosts, you name it, I'm obsessed by it. I was really excited to see this. So this centres around an experience that the actual director had himself. So he's a journalist, David Holthouse, and he has looked into some really scary stuff. He integrated into white supremacist groups, just drug cartels. He has been in there and been trusted by some massive like criminals. He's been in dangerous situations. He remembers being in a specific place when he was a much younger man, 25 years ago, and he was in a cabin in an area where in California where marijuana is grown. And there are a lot of young people up there that help to farm the marijuana, and that's what he was doing. He was in a cabin one night and these 2 guys run in wide-eyed and completely and utterly terrified. And they say 2 men have been torn to pieces. Bigfoot did it. That's what this is about. And he decides, way in the future, 25 years down the line, he is intrigued by this and he wants answers. And he goes back to that place and he is investigating it. Did Bigfoot do this? Does anyone know about it? Was it ever reported? And this follows him trying to get to the bottom. Now, if I'd gone into this thinking it was what I don't even want to tell you, because I don't want to spoil it completely, but I do want to tell you it's not about Bigfoot, just from the off. If I had have known it wasn't about Bigfoot, I maybe would have enjoyed it more, but I still went into it thinking it was about Bigfoot, and it isn't. So, warning. What did I write there? I very rarely write. The problem with Sasquatch has got absolutely nothing to do with Sasquatch. Okay, next on to Mortal Kombat, which everyone at the minute is talking about and reviewing. I've seen 2 very different sort of viewpoints. I'm kind of in the middle, I suppose. I don't need to tell you what this is about. I will say that I know nothing of the mythos, of the background, of the legends, of anything like this. I know a lot of people do. I have played the games. I kind of know the characters. Sub-Zero was usually my favourite to play with. I was the irritating person that learned the special move and repeated it and just annoyed people. with this one, the storyline is what we got in the movie was very simplistic. There wasn't a great deal of character development. I wouldn't say I particularly cared deeply about any of the characters. I did obviously have a side that I was rooting for, but I think the only character that really was in any way well developed was Kano. But in saying all this, I watched this and went into this knowing it was an action movie. It was about the action scenes. They gave it an R rating. Obviously what I think this needed, this type of like game crossover did need that R rating. I enjoyed it. I thought the fight scenes were amongst the best I'd seen in any of these kind of movies. Like, per fight choreography is just so irritating to watch. Some of the like injuries and deaths in this did actually make you like a mix between intake of breath and actual laugh because it was just so like spectacular. I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 because for what it was, I enjoyed it. I didn't go into it expecting to see a massive deep storyline and really developed characters. I went into this wanting to see some really good action sequences, which I feel it delivered with, so 3.5 out of 5. The same evening, now this is a weird one, I watched Pinocchio. This is Italian, and it's got Roberto Benigni in it, and I adore Roberto Benigni. If you don't know who he is, if you think back many moons ago to a film called Life is Beautiful, winning the Oscars, and I think it was one of the first foreign movies ever to do that, and it's one of my all-time favourite movies. Roberto Benigni starred in that, and he's in this as Geppetto. This is a real-life version of Pinocchio. Now, I've heard people talk about this and say it's not a movie for kids, it's a horror movie, if anything. I don't agree with that. I feel older children could watch this. By older children, I mean my son's 10. He could quite easily watch this movie. I was expecting something quite twisted and quite, like Pan's Labyrinth is a fairy tale but very much for adults. I was expecting something on that sort of level of, I suppose, age appropriateness. Does that make sense? But really it's weird, don't get me wrong. Every character in this has got a quirk or is half an animal. We've got a woman that's half snail in this. They do follow the actual story of Pinocchio, but with kind of little deviations here and there, but they do stick pretty close to the story. We have the fox and the cat, the really devious people that try to trick Pinocchio, but these are two men with features that are like, one's got whiskers. They're sort of like very cartoonish characters. There is like, I suppose, an underlying sort of ominous section. There's one section where Pinocchio puts his feet up on the fire and falls asleep, and the fire burns his feet off. So I suppose children could find that quite, like, oh, he's flailing about on the floor with no feet. But I didn't feel there was anything in this that was particularly horrific or was particularly difficult for older kids to watch. So I would recommend this if you really like Roberto Benigni, if you don't mind your movies being a little bit odd, if you want to watch something that's different. I enjoyed this, but I'm not going to deny it was really weird. The cinematography was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. There's some scenes in it that you look at and you think, I would love a painting of that scene that I'm looking at right now. Very, very beautifully filmed. Very sentimental, which I've said in the past, I think Spanish and Italian films are perfect at it. So if you're intrigued and are willing to watch something that is quite different, check it out, but it isn't in any way adult, horrific, nothing like that, disturbing. It's just a bit weird. So that's Pinocchio. Curve, right, these are the final two movies I watched last night. Curve is on Netflix, I believe, at the moment. This is a movie about a young woman who is due to get married. She is driving, I believe, what does it say? Right, okay. I don't know if that even tells you a bit too much. So this young woman is going to get married and she's driving to what I believe may be her wedding rehearsal. You can very much tell from the character that she's in two minds. Does she think she's going to do the right thing? Her car breaks down in the middle of nowhere and a young handsome stranger helps her fix the car. He wants a lift, she doesn't feel safe, but as she drives away she feels wrong that he has obviously helped her, he's rescued her, the least she can do is give him a lift to where he wants to go. And she does, and everything kicks off. This guy is not a nice guy. It does tell you, a young woman becomes trapped in her car after a hitchhiker causes her to have an automobile accident. So the synopsis on like IMDb will tell you more than that, which I'm not going to do. But this guy is not a nice guy, and something happens that traps this lady in her car. And we follow her trying to get free, trying to get away. That threat is very much still there, but also now she has the threat of losing her life in the situation in this car. So it's kind of a survival movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was well acted. I wouldn't say it was amazing, but it's just one of those movies that's just easy to sit down and watch. One thing I will say is some of the decisions made are infuriating and you will be shouting at the TV. Especially from a woman's perspective. When I see women make just stupid decisions over and over again on telly, it cracks me. I just can't be dealing with it. Like people running upstairs in a house when they're being chased. Where are you going to go? Every time a woman runs from someone, she has to fall over. All of that sort of stuff winds me up. I'm not saying that's what happens here. I'm just saying there are situations which irritate. But it's a solid enough little film. You're not going to see anything new, but it's, you know, it's fine if you want to check it out. Right, so the last one I watched was Boys from County Hell. I've been wanting to see this for ages since I heard about it because quite simply it's set where I'm from. This has been very widely put across as an Irish horror movie, an Irish horror comedy. Right, this was, post-production for this movie was in Sligo, which is in Ireland, but this movie is actually filmed in the north of Ireland, where I'm from. So sometimes you see UK/Irish and people's like, well, how can it be UK and Ireland? Because Northern Ireland is separate to the south and it's considered to be part of the United Kingdom. So I live in Northern Ireland, so I am entitled to dual citizenship. I can consider myself Irish or British, whichever I choose. So this movie is actually filmed in rural Northern Ireland where I live. So the scenes that you see in this, all the sort of like scenery, that's just exactly like where I'm from. So most of the characters in this talk quite similarly to me, although a couple of them have more what Leo from Geek Legion of Doom referred to as thick accent, which really made Darren laugh because he was talking about Irish people and he said the accents were thick. We know the rumour about people from Ireland being thick. I like to think that's not the case, but the accents, I will agree with Leo, are strong. I don't have a particularly strong Northern Irish accent. People have said on some of my videos, my true crime videos, that they need to use subtitles because they cannot understand a word I am saying. Other people don't seem to have a problem, but some of the characters in this do have very thick colloquial accents. One of them sounds just like my dad's friend. His voice, just like him. It's the father of the main character in this. So if you've seen it, that character just reminds me completely of my dad's friend. I really enjoyed this. Now, I've given it a 3.5. I switched off it. Right, I'm going to leave it switched off because I'm scunnered. If you leave screen recording too long without touching the screen, it just switches off on you. So if you're talking, it's gone, which is just pointless, really. Oh, are you going for Isaac?
Yep.
Right, yeah. I'll be done when you get back.
I'll just tell you this now, this is a corker.
Right, Darren's coming to tell me a corker.
Oh,
it's alright, it's fine.
They just had released some statements from a parliamentary discussion about the possibility of a third lockdown. And guess what Boris Johnson said?
What?
He'd rather let the bodies pile high in their thousands than hold a third lockdown. That's what's been leaked.
Oh my god. Or Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Twat. That's not good. That's really not good. Anyway, we were talking about Boys from County Hell, but there you go. What do you think of that? So, I give this a 3.5 out of 5. I just related so much to this because the accents were the accents that I live with every day. They remind me of people I know. This just was like watching a group of friends to me. The characters were so believable. The situations they find themselves in are completely believable. The way they react to certain things is believable and not... We always get in movies people screaming and blood-curdling screams and running for the hills, but, you know, this has got... The language in this is atrocious. People here do swear a lot, I will admit, but they're like shouting obscenities when they see things and they talk like normal people. I will say the only negative for me in this is you may struggle to understand some of the accents some of the time because they are very strong. But this is funny. They don't skimp on the sections that have the scary bits. They are, you know, you do jump in some places. The blood in this is fantastic. I'm a real stickler for realistic blood, and the blood in this is brilliant. I haven't told you what it's about. Jesus Christ. Right, this is about a legend, which is a real legend in Ireland to do with vampires, and I have forgotten because I am... let me see if it says on here what it is. Come to Lisa Loves for professional reviews. The server is currently unavailable. Letterboxd has gone down again. So this is about an Irish legend to do with a really old vampire, and I can't remember what the hell it's called. It's a mythological vampire. I'll put it up on the screen. There is a pile of rocks in the middle of a field, and this is said to be the only way to keep this vampire from rising. You bury him and you pile rocks upon his grave. So this old, like, ancient vampire dude is going to come back. I'm not going to tell you how or why, and a lot of other people are going to get turned in the process. Now, if you are a purist when it comes to vampire mythology, you may be a bit annoyed, but they don't stick to the complete rules of vampire mythology in this, which gives for a really, really amusing scene in the middle of a field. Basically, one of the families in this is working in this specific field that's got the mound of rocks because there's going to be a dual carriageway go through. A lot of people are really annoyed about this, aren't happy that this local family has taken on the job as such. So this is now a building site as such. Diggers, all the rest of it in there, and these rocks are disturbed because they have to be to put the motorway through. And all hell kicks off. And I just feel like I have given you a really, really crap idea of what this is about. Right, if you're interested in watching this, 2 reviews I would recommend you to go to, and if my memory serves me correctly, I will link them below. One is Leo from Geek Legion of Doom, who reviewed it, and Emma from Spooky Astronauts, who also reviewed it, and that's how I found out it existed in the first place. If you're interested in knowing more about the movie, check out their reviews because I'm just talking rubbish to you. All I want you to know is it felt like it was in my backyard, the people talked like I do, and I found it funny and I found it jumpy. I loved the blood, and I would thoroughly recommend that you check it out. So yeah, that's what I've watched this week. I've started watching Orthodox on Netflix. I've meant to watch it for quite a while. It's about a young girl breaking free from the Jewish Orthodox religion. I'm learning so much because as things is happening on the screen, I'm like, but why do they do this? And why do they? And I'm looking them all up and I'm thinking, why did they not teach us this in RE at school? Why did we just get bombarded with Christianity? Why did they not teach us about other faiths and why we do things that we do? So what I've watched besides the movies, I've started watching Orthodox on Netflix, which is about a young Orthodox Jewish woman who is basically fleeing from, it's a very, very controlled life she doesn't want to be part of anymore, and basically she leaves, she flees. So I think I'm about 3 episodes and I'm really enjoying it. It's really good. Besides that, I don't think I've watched anything else. I've been trying to catch up on a lot of YouTube. I need to get on with watching some more movies. There's Nomadland is one I really want to check out. Obviously Judas and the Black Messiah, especially following the Oscars. I have that on my watch list. I've been meaning, you know when you need to be in the right mood to watch a really serious movie, and I know before I watch it that I'm going to get really angry at it. And I'm trying to prepare myself. I don't, like most evenings you just want to sit there and be entertained and not have to think very deeply. Well, I do a lot of the time. And I know that I need to be in the right mood to take this movie in and to let myself get really frustrated and angry at it because I know it's going to do it. So yeah, that's what I've watched this week. This has probably waffled on way, way, way longer than it needed to because it's me and I waffle. But thank you for watching. I shall catch up with you all next week in my what I watched on week 1 of May. Can you believe it? This is the last week of April. Jesus Christ. Right, so thank you for watching. See you next week, folks. Over and out from Lisa Loves.